The heavy rains came down after the 6 months' break, and in the soft mist of the rain Tablot the giant sat idly on the boughs of his white silk cotton tree. His watchful eyes surveyed the rain-forest valley he called home ever since he emerged from the ocean after the great deluge. The joyful cries of the red howler monkeys that were thankful for the rain reverberated through the tree lines. Tablot understood their enthusiasm, since he too welcomed the weather, for it heralded his imminent departure from the world. The rain subsided, and he slipped down the tree onto the thick buttressed roots that sprawled on the forest floor like giant tentacles. Tablot jumped into the muddy undergrowth and relished the sensation of moist earth between his toes. He heard and noticed that something small moved swiftly through the foliage in front of him. His first thought was that of a macadjewel snake, and he prepared to grab it, but the intruder seemed to be on all fours from the tapping of its paws on the ground. Within moments, the mystery was at his feet. "Tablot, Tablot, thank goodness I caught you in time," said the maniac that erupted out of the undergrowth, calling his name. "Zedek, what is it now?" asked Tablot with hands akimbo, and he glared at the critter. The maniac's black eyes were excited, and the flaxen snot twitched from right to left. The rodent reared up and grew to the height of a man. It shook its wet fur like a shaggy cur and transformed into a human. Tablot raised his arms to protect himself from the spray of water from Zedek's fur. "Why are you giving me that tone of voice, old friend?" asked Zedek. "You came for me to mingle with the humans again," replied Tablot. "Not this time. I have an important message for you." Tablot laughed and waved off the intruder. Then he walked to his cave entrance. "Don't turn your back on me," said Zedek. "Ah, you came up in this weather to be disappointed," said Tablot. Tablot brushed aside a thick curtain of roots that camouflaged the cave mouth, and he entered with Zedek in pursuit. "It is very important that you listen to me," implored Zedek. "You can't live as a hermit for eternity." Tablot turned to him sharply. "You wake up every 200 years to do what?" "Mark the walls, dig tunnels, and stargaze," said Zedek. Zedek continued, "You can't hide from the world forever." Tablot turned away in frustration. "I am not hiding," he said. "Sure doesn't look that way." "We are survivors," said Zedek. "You used the organ to blast out of the ocean bed, and I came up from a hole in the earth. And speaking of the organ, I mentioned to a visitor to the island that you were in possession of one." "Leave me alone," said Tablot. "No," said Zedek. "This visitor is one of us and is looking for a particular mask. If this mask is not found, bad things are going to take place here." "Why was the organ even brought up in this matter?" asked Tablot. "The stranger approached me thinking that I was the ancient one on the island. Apparently the lower levels were given that impression. I said no, I don't have that responsibility. That Tablot was really the ancient one, and he had an organ to prove it." Tablot chuckled and held his hips. "This person wants to meet with you in order to track down the object," said Zedek. "I am not meeting with him," said Tablot. "It is not a him, it's a her," said Zedek. "You should see her. She's magnificent." Tablot swiftly held Zedek by the throat and asked, "Did you give away my location? Were you followed?" Tablot squirmed Zedek, his toes trying to stretch back to the warm flooring. "I don't know. I'm sorry. I told her nothing about here." Tablot released him. "She just wants to talk," said Zedek and coughed. "I need to think it over." Tablot descended the stairs to the first chamber. Fully grown centipedes ran along the stairs and scattered when Tablot approached. The weak light from stone lamps illuminated the Asher murals on the smooth walls. The drawings depicted humans, Tablot's kind, and the strongholds that were reflections of his troubled mind. The second chamber was blocked by a circular door that was made from hacked branches that were tied together. The door slipped into the equally circular walls. Tablot pulled out the door and hopped over a few more downward steps. The chamber kept an assortment of spears, archery equipment, sharpened stones, and slingshots like the armory of his past. He used a ladder made of more branches to reach the third chamber that was below. Fruits, seeds, clay pots of water, oils, and seasoned wild meat were stored in the chamber. He took a guava from a ledge and offered it to Zedek, who looked at the fruit as though it was poison. Tablot shrugged and then ate it. They crawled through a hole into the fourth chamber. Astrological charts were painted on the floor and walls of the chamber. A fluorescent-like color came off the charts in the light of the stone fires. A door led to the fifth chamber, where a battalion of ants moved along the walls.